Hi everybody, welcome to my latest video. It's another gorgeous morning as usual, and this video is absolutely packed with stuff. I do so much in this video. I use my favorite tool on my favorite plant to make my favorite fertilizer. We go for pizza, we go to a river beach. I go over to my friend Sinead's place and solve a problem with her water. I make a place for my firewood. I do some pointing. I eat some fruits. And I probably do other things that I'm forgetting as well. So it's absolutely packed with interesting things. I think it's a long one, but it's a good one. So going forward, I'm going to try to have a nice mix of mishmash videos like this, where I do loads of different things and cram it all into one video, and project-based videos like my splash pool series, plus the tool shed that I just started, and plus lots of smaller projects. So I think that's a nice way to share a lot of different things that I'm doing on the land and with the building, and a good way to organize it, so hopefully it makes sense. If you're new here, thanks for visiting my channel. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing, and same with liking the video. If you like my stuff, please do give the video a like. It goes a long way for helping get my videos out there to new people, and I really appreciate it. So this is a long one. I'm going to stop blabbing on, and we're just going to get straight into the work. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you again at the end. Good morning, everybody. It's beautiful out here, and it's actually even a little cold, which is crazy because it's about 10 o'clock. I'm off to a late start. Today my plan is to do a bunch of admin stuff on the computer, and then I'm gonna run into town to do a bunch of errands that I really don't like doing. Boo. And then I'm meeting a friend later tonight for pizza. Yay. But before I do any of that stuff, I've got a task that I've been meaning to do for about 2 months now that involves these that I'm gonna get to right now. Are you following me? To the bottom terrace. Lead the way. Lead the way faster. So today is the day that I finally whip up a few batches of comfrey tea. What's comfrey tea, you ask? Well, I actually don't really know the specifics of what wonderful nutrients and things are in comfrey tea, but basically it's a fertilizer packed with goodness. And my plan for today is to harvest as close down to the base as possible, but keeping only the leaf, and then that's going to go in the black bucket. So comfrey, like I said, is full of loads and loads of nutrients. It has a long taproot that goes deep into the ground and then pulls things up to the surface. So that's why it's a good thing to plant around the base of trees. Plus, because it's so bushy, it keeps the weeds at bay. There's weeds over here, but there's really no weeds under there where the comfrey is. And the leaves make an amazing fertilizer. You add water to it, you let it steep like tea for I think 5 weeks. It turns super stinky and gross. And then you dilute it with water and pour it on your garden or around your trees or whatever. So my plan is to basically harvest the comfrey leaves, and I'll probably leave the stalks in place and then chop them down afterwards and sprinkle them around the tree. And then the leaves are what goes into the bucket to make the tea. So let's get chopping. Hello, favorite tool. These leaves are so incredibly soft that using the clippers on them is definitely ridiculous overkill, but I absolutely love these things. So I'm gonna use them at every opportunity I have. And the comfrey grows back really well, so I probably should have already harvested this at least one time this summer. So I'm not really concerned about taking it all. It really is kind of a miracle plant. It's one of my favorite things that I have on my land, and I'm basically going to try to propagate it as much as possible, put it around all my trees, and yeah, have lots and lots of comfrey. It's going to look really sad when it's all gone, but I know it'll be back soon. So you can even see these dead leaves here. they'll actually just break down, decompose, and send lots of good nutrients back into the soil. So you could even just leave your comfrey to grow leaves and drop leaves, and it'll still be doing wonderful things in your garden or food forest. It's a truly amazing plant. I am a fan. So I'll just chop these ones down to size, sprinkle them around the base of the pear tree, and then move on to the next plant. And I think you'll be surprised to see how quickly this thing springs back to life. It's always very amazing to me. Okay, on to the next one. So this is a very satisfying way to spend a morning. I'm going to continue massacring the poor comfrey, and then I'm going to get it brewing into a tea. So I'll check in again when I have all the leaves cut and I'm ready to add water. Okay, the comfrey has been given a haircut. I've put a base of mulch around Manny the mango of rotten leaves and stems to keep him nice and happy. And I'm going to fill this bucket up. It's packed with comfrey pretty tightly. I'll fill it to the brim and then I'll cover it up. I'll get a tarp in town today. I should use a tarp, but I'll cover it up with this board of wood that I have and let it sit there for 5 months. So there's just a few more things to share about the wonderful world of comfrey. The first is that the variety I have, I think it's called Bocking 14 Russian comfrey or something along those lines. That one doesn't spread anywhere, so it'll stay where you plant it, whereas other comfreys will have a tendency to take over the place. So if you're using it in a garden or you don't want it to spread around, look for that variety. Also, comfrey makes a wonderful living mulch, so I could have just left the comfrey around my trees, nice and big and beautiful, and it would have protected the soil beneath the tree, kept the tree happy. My goal eventually is to have comfrey that just lives around the trees, drops its rotten leaves, stays alive, and I'll have another source of comfrey that I cut to use as fertilizer. And the last thing is how easy it is to propagate. I haven't actually cut out any of the comfrey myself, but I bought some from a friend originally, and she just gives me these little root sections. It looks very sad when you plant it, but it springs to life without very much effort. Comfrey is really a magical plant. I'm very happy I have lots of it, and I want more. If you're interested in comfrey at all, look it up. It does so many things, more than I've even said here. And yeah, it's a really great plant to have in your garden, food forest, wherever. So that's enough about comfrey. I am in real life going into town to do a whole bunch of annoying errands, but in video life, we're going for pizza. So let's go grab some pizza at a brand new local village pizzeria that's just popped up. Good morning, another beautiful day as usual. And the best thing about having delicious pizza for dinner last night is having delicious pizza for breakfast this morning. I'm gonna enjoy this. I'm gonna have some coffee, pizza and coffee, the breakfast of champions. And then I'm gonna do a job that I've been kind of dreading for a little while. It's gonna be a really, really hot day today. We're getting into August and the weather's gonna go a little bit crazy the way it does in the summer, the way it hasn't really so far. So it seems like a pretty good time to prepare for winter. I have a firewood delivery coming tomorrow, and there's a space down on my land that's quite chaotic. It's where I want to put the firewood, but I have a whole bunch of preparation to do before I do that. It means moving a bunch of pallets, flattening a bunch of dirt, laying down a bunch of tarps, and then setting the pallets back up again. So I'm gonna eat my pizza breakfast, I'm gonna have some coffee, and then I'm gonna head down there and try to get this job done before it gets too hot. That's good stuff. Good morning. So this is the location of my future firewood store. I previously had it up next to the house, which was handy, but I don't have enough space up there, and I'm going to be working on the tool shed. So I'm looking for something a bit more out of the way. This time around, I'm going to get a delivery from a guy who can give me smaller pieces. Last year I spent a whole bunch of time chainsawing firewood, and it was very not fun. Very unfun. I didn't enjoy it. It was just so frustrating when you just want it to be warm and cozy and then realize that I didn't have any pieces that would actually fit in my wood stove. So he's coming tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I want to get everything prepared. The delivery will be up top because I don't think his truck will fit down here. So I'm going to have a lot of firewood moving in my future. I have everything I need here, but unfortunately it's all sitting on top of this massive pile of dirt, so I have to level it all out, lay everything out, and then I'm going to be ready for the delivery when it comes tomorrow afternoon. But before I get started on the work here, I'm going to go to my friend Sinead's place. She just lives over yonder. She has a whole bunch of fruit trees, and I want to give them a little drink. She's got an interesting water setup down there. So let's just take a walk over there, have a look at what she's got going on with her trees, and then I'll get stuck into this hard physical labor in the hot sun when I get back. It's a rock. It's a rock. I've never seen you over here this far before. I am concerned because there's quite an amazing little ecosystem of frogs in here, and Mikey is kind of a cold-blooded killer. As cute as you are, you're kind of ferocious. So please don't kill any frogs. So this is Sinead's water source, and as you can see, it's interesting. This would be what's called a water mine. I don't know if there's some difference between just a natural spring and a water mine. My guess is that a water mine is just a spring, but that needs to be kind of dug into the hillside to access, and then you create a basin to pool up the water and catch it. I really don't know. What do you think? Do you know? So, the setup isn't ideal. This isn't in very tightly. And so when Sinead was here in April, she and her brother and cousin sort of just came up with a very rudimentary plan. This tap turns on this way. And it's basically just connected to a hose. Generally, you'd want to have a much thicker hose from the water source so that you get more pressure, but it's just what they ended up with. So this yellow hose is ridiculously long, and it runs all the way down to her fruit trees. So I'm going to basically drag this hose around the land. It doesn't flow very quickly, unfortunately, because the hose size is quite small and there's not a lot of fall. So you don't get a lot of pressure from gravity either. So it takes a very, very long time for it to come out the hose, and that means it takes a long time to water the trees. So it's not a case of me just being able to come down and water them. I have to actually just turn it on and then keep returning and keep returning and keep moving the hose. One thing she's done that's kind of cool is dug in a whole bunch of clay pots around the bases of her trees. These I think are called, well, that's a clay pot, but in this sort of format I think it's an ollo, O-L-L-O. And I think the idea is you fill up the clay pots and then the water will sort of slowly release into the ground as it's needed. So it'll hold in the pots, and then when the ground around the tree gets dry and needs the water, it should leach out of the pot and keep the roots of the tree fairly well watered. As you can see, it's completely bone dry and the soil around it is very dry as well. So I'm going to figure out why this water isn't flowing and then start filling these things up. So there's definitely not a lot of pressure. So as you can see, the flow is insanely low. It'll be a surprise when I come back to see what's happening here. The water should be flowing through this. I don't know why it's not, but I've got stuff to do, so I'm going to revisit this fairly soon. Where's the cat? Here, Mikey. These apples are looking amazing. I'm going to have one of these later. And I might also try a pear. They're looking absolutely delicious. It's already pretty hot, so I'm hoping I can bang this out in about an hour or so. And if I can't manage it, I'll just finish it up tomorrow. So let's go. Water break. This is tough work because it's pretty hot. It's getting hot now. But I'm going to persevere because I've made plans to meet some friends at a river beach this afternoon, and I'm going to make that my reward. So I'm going to drink some water, push on, and go relax in the afternoon and cool down. And then tomorrow when I accept my wood delivery, I know I'll have somewhere to put it, and I'll feel very happy about that. All right, onward. Yay. Actually, before I get started, I thought I'd come down here, see what this hose is doing. And the answer is that it's not doing very much. I wonder if I shorten it up, at least I can water this tree here. Because it seems like the water wants to flow up to this point. Oh, it's leaking. Let's tighten this up. What are you doing, hose? Well, it's not great. But I guess it is technically flowing. I'm going to put this directly onto the tree for now. I don't think it's flowing quickly enough to really have an impact in this thing, so I guess I'll come back later on and see how everything's going. But for now, back to the firewood. These Asian pears are looking pretty good too, so maybe pick one of these as well, and I'll have a little fruit taste test tomorrow for breakfast. Okay, I think that's the hardest part over. Gonna stick some tarps down, get these pallets down, and call this job done. Okay, that'll do. I'm very happy with how this has turned out. Level-ish. It'll hold firewood, it'll keep it off the ground. The tarps will stop the grass from growing through, and it's gonna give me a permanently temporary place to put firewood. But it's really hot out, and I think it's time to go for a swim. So let's go to the river beach. Good morning. I'm ready for breakfast, and I'm going a bit healthier than yesterday's pizza. Today I've got fruit from my very own fruit trees, and I'm excited to give them a try. So I have a Fuji apple, a Comus pear, and an Asian pear, also known as a nashi. And I was down in my garden earlier and noticed I have some grapes ready, so I picked a couple of grapes, and I'm going to give those a try as well. Don't know if this Asian pear is ripe. I also don't exactly know what it's supposed to taste like. Okay, let's dig in. Start with the pear. Very delicious. I'm really excited to have this pear tree filled with pears. Okay, the nashi. I don't have a lot of experience eating nashi / Asian pear. I'm curious about it. I don't know if it's ready. Smaller bite. Okay, that was too small. It's ready. It's tart, it's sweet, crunchy. Not massively tasty. It doesn't have a massive flavor, but refreshing. It's definitely like a cross between an apple and a pear. It's a winner. All right. Apple. I love apples. I'm sad that my Royal Gala tree doesn't seem to be doing much, but my Fuji tree is absolutely packed with fruit, so that's extremely exciting. This is my favorite apple, and it's delicious. And then, grapes. They have seeds, but it's delicious. So I'm very excited to have this food forest down there, packed with fruit. I love that I can just go down and pick an apple off the tree. That's so cool, and I'm really happy I planted the trees when I did, about 3 years ago when I arrived, and I'm amazed they're already giving so much fruit. So I'm motivated to get more trees in the ground in November, and I've got space. I can probably cram, if I'm pushing it, 6 more trees on the land, maybe a few more if I go a little closer together. So if anyone out there has suggestions about things that I should plant, if you want to see what I already have in my orchard, you can check out this video, and it goes through all of the trees that I have. But if you have suggestions for other things, including nuts and obviously fruit, please do let me know in the comments, and I'll see if I can find them in the market in November and stick them in the ground, because having my own fruit just down there on the bottom terrace is, I just think it's the coolest thing. So I'm going to finish my breakfast, and then I'm going to get to work. So breakfast has been eaten. It was delicious. Not as satisfying as pizza, of course, but satisfying, I suppose, in a different way. I plan today to do some pointing in the swimming pool, the wall behind the pool. I've got this bucket of lime that's just been sitting around for ages, getting all crusty. I keep having to top it up with water, and it's very annoying. I also need to water my garden and a few other things around the place. But first, let's cut some hose. So I don't know what the deal is with Sinead's water. The water will flow up until the end of the short hose, but it gets lost somewhere within the long hose. I don't know if it's clogged. I don't know if the pressure is too little to push it through this incredibly huge hose. I have no idea, but I do know that the hose is only long because there's a lone tree way over there, and it's a citrus tree, and it's probably okay if it doesn't have consistent water. So what I'm going to do is chop the long hose to a more reasonable length just to access the trees here and see if it flows. So this cherry tree, I think, is the farthest one, so let's cut it here and see what happens. Okay, that is how it should be. Let's get these pots filling up, and I am a lot happier about that. So Sinead's trees are getting some attention. I'm going to be running back and forth all day. Actually, I don't run. I'm going to be walking at a leisurely pace back and forth for the rest of this day, moving the hose around from tree to tree, and hopefully by the end of the day they look a lot happier than they did earlier. But for now, I'm back in the water tank, back in the splash pool, finishing up some pointing on the back wall. I should have totally done this before I actually finished the pool off with the final layer of paint. It would have meant that I didn't have to be so careful with mess, but I did not do that. So I've got a sheet, I've got some plastic. I've taken precautions so that I don't splash lime everywhere, but it is going to make the job a little bit more tricky and a little bit slower. However, I really enjoy pointing, so that's okay. It doesn't matter if it takes a while. I'm just going to put on some music, zone out, and get the job done. So it's not actually pointing that we're doing now. I'd call it packing, which is basically taking stones and lime and trying to shove it as far back into the wall as possible, strengthening the wall and building it out sort of to this level. I'll probably scrape some of that back actually, but making everything stronger, putting some rocks in, so I would put a stone in there, and then the final pointing stage is going to look a lot more like that. So this still needs to be final pointed, this still needs to be packed, this still needs to be final pointed. So I have a lot of work to do, and we're going to get started with the packing. And that is the packing process. Slow and steady, with an emphasis on slow. It's very methodical, it's very relaxing, and I really do enjoy it. So I'm gonna put some music on, put the camera away, and just carry on with this and check back in again when it's done. So it's about 4 o'clock and this is what I've done. So you'll notice that I've put some smaller stones in here in the gaps. That's to hold the stones above. It means that I don't have to have such a tight fit of the stone. I can basically prop it up and then allow the lime to solidify, and that's what's going to hold the stone in place. So I finally run out of that lime mix. I don't have to worry about continually topping it up with water, so I can relax. I'm going to take it easy for the next little while. I am waiting for my firewood delivery and I have no idea when that's going to come. They said it would be 3 o'clock and now we're approaching 4 o'clock, so who knows, but I'm going to be at the ready and look forward to getting that. It's too hot to move it today, but I'm going to slowly move it down to my brand new firewood storage area in the mornings and later in the evenings when it's not so hot out. So I'm gonna tidy the mess I've made in the splash pool. I'm gonna head over to Sinead's to move the hose, and then I'm gonna relax for a little bit while I wait for the firewood delivery. So the firewood has arrived. My friend who lives next door has kindly allowed me to have it delivered on her land. It's just going to be a lot easier to move to its final resting place from right there. I'm going to be doing a lot of wheelbarrowing, but I'm going to do it another day when it's not 35 degrees outside, so I'll probably deal with this on several mornings, slowly and steadily. I've already crammed a lot into this video, lots of little jobs, some fun things along the way. I hope you enjoyed it. Any questions, comments, or if you just want to say hello, leave me a message below. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.